Welcome to BTC Guidebook, where it is no frills, no shills, just pure Bitcoin education. Today we're going to be discussing different types of Bitcoin wallets. Why wallet choice matters? Wallet choice matters because what you're doing is you are balancing security versus usability, whether that comes to a hot wallet that is always on the internet or a cold storage wallet, which is keeping your keys secure and offline. Now we'll cover these in a little bit more detail as we go on here. Today's goal is to have a basic understanding of different wallet options and how to choose the right one for your personal use case. What is a Bitcoin wallet? A Bitcoin wallet is a software or hardware that manages your private keys. It's not actually storing your Bitcoin. That is a common misconception. Your Bitcoin is not actually in the wallet itself. It is stored as a public ledger on a blockchain. A wallet is simply serving as a signing device for when you go to transact Bitcoin. The wallet is holding your private key, which allows you to spend Bitcoin. So inside your wallet, you have your private keys, which is made up of a seed phrase that represents your private key and several wallet addresses that you can send to. Now, these several wallet addresses are important because for your personal security, you do not want to be reusing Bitcoin addresses for the sake of privacy. Because if you use the same address over and over again, someone that has blockchain literacy will be able to track and trace how much Bitcoin you own, and it's making it less private and less secure because this is, once again, all public information on a public blockchain ledger. All right, so we have two different types of wallets here that we're going to discuss today. We have hot wallets versus cold wallets, and hot wallets are always typically online. They are convenient to use, but it comes with much higher risk. And cold wallets are offline storage. Ideally, your key never touches the internet and it stays offline. And this is for maximum security, but however, the trade-off is that it is less convenient. Now, the ideal use cases for each wallet. A hot wallet is suitable for everyday trading because it makes it easier to transact because you don't need to sign transactions manually with a hardware wallet. The cost is generally free. There are several apps that serve as hot wallets that are readily available to download. They're very quick and easy to use. They're less secure. You don't want to really keep large amounts on hot wallets. This is more for everyday payments or Lightning Network, which we'll dive into later. But these wallets, since they're always online and your keys are online, are more susceptible to online threats. Now, cold wallets are more suited for long-term storage. These are devices, once again, that your key never should touch the internet. Now, prices of these can range anywhere from $50 to upwards of $250. It all depends on what device you're going for and how many features that it offers. These are more complex to use than hot wallets because they do involve some setup and some technical wherewithal. They are highly secure and they always, again, remain offline. Now, for recovery of these wallets, you can use your seed phrase to regain access. And you want to be careful with this because as a user, you do not want your seed phrase to be inputted across several different apps. The more things that your seed phrase touches, the more susceptible you are to losing your funds. Here are some wallet examples. In the first column here, we have mobile wallets. Some mobile wallets are Phoenix, Zeus, and Wallet of Satoshi. And then you have software wallets, which generally live on a desktop computer. Some of these are also available on mobile. You have Sparrow, Blue Wallet, Nunchuck. And then your hardware wallets. This is something that you typically want to store larger amounts on. Cold Card, Ledger, Trezor, stuff like that. So hot wallets are always software based. Now, if your funds are on exchange, if your private key lives on that platform, it is indeed a hot wallet. Any exchange would be considered a hot wallet, and some examples of this are Coinbase, Gemini, Kraken, and Binance. There are several more, but these are just the major notable players here. Some desktop wallets, if your private key lives on your computer, it is again a hot wallet. Some examples of these are Electrum, Sparrow, Spectre. There's a lot more, but here are some of the main players once again. Mobile wallets are those that generate your private key. Some of these include Phoenix, Bull, Zeus, and Wallet of Satoshi, which we saw on the previous slide. Now, the pros of hot wallets are that they're convenient, they have easy usability, they're good for everyday spending, and they're good for Lightning transactions. Now, some of the cons of these hot wallets are they're not as secure with large amounts. They can be prone to attacks and hacks. And if that happens, again, you will lose access to your funds. So you don't want to generally keep large amounts on these hot wallets. It might be good to transact if you're looking to purchase or store for short-term keeping. Now, cold wallets. Cold wallets are hardware-based wallets. Some examples of these are Cold Card, Trezor, Seed Signer, Jade, and Ledger. Now, the pros of these are that they're highly secure, and the good ones tend to be air-gapped. They have QR codes that are used for transactions or SD cards, and again, this is done so that your keys never touch the internet. Preferred models of these are Bitcoin-only models. You don't want to be using a cold wallet that stores or has the capability of storing a bunch of shitcoins on it. Firmware that has the ability to do this is only compromising your security. Some cons of these wallets is that there's definitely a learning curve if you're not tech savvy. There can be some technical wherewithal to these. Another con is that you're fully responsible for your keys. There is no fallback if you misplace this or do this improperly, and you again are prone to losing your funds if you're not able to set this up properly. So let's get into custodial versus non-custodial wallets. Custodial wallets are exchange wallets like Coinbase and Binance. The third party holds your keys, which is much easier for beginners, but there is a definite trade-off there again with security. While it provides high convenience, not your keys, not your coins. And if one of these exchanges happens to go down, you could lose access to your funds. Non-custodial or self-custody wallets are mostly software or hardware wallets. The user controls the keys. This provides true ownership of your funds. Some of the pros versus cons here is full control, but you are, again, personally responsible for everything that you do and backing up things accordingly. Wallet recommendations. Bitcoin-only wallets. Again, don't use wallets that support shitcoins. This only adds additional and unnecessary security risks. Air-gapped wallets. Ideally, your hardware wallet never touches the internet or is plugged into any device that does. Air gapping is typically accomplished via QR codes, SD cards, or even more recently, NFC. Air gapping guarantees that your seed never leaves your device. Another important thing is open source wallets. These are wallets where the source code is publicly available and under open source license. Anyone can view, study, or modify this and redistribute the code. It's often hosted on platforms like GitHub, which are openly viewable to the public. Now, some of the key advantages to open source wallets: transparency and verifiability. Security, researchers, developers, and users can audit the code for backdoors, bugs, or malicious behavior, and that is impossible with closed source because these are proprietary to the company that designed them. Community scrutiny. There's more eyes on the code, which usually leads to faster discovery and fixing of vulnerabilities. You are minimizing the trust. You don't have to blindly trust developers or experts. You can verify that the software actually does what it says it's going to do. Longevity. Even if the original team disappears, the community can maintain and fork the project for continued use. These are often self-custodial. More open source wallets give users full control of their keys. Here's a comparison of open source versus closed source wallets. Open source wallets, again, are public and anyone can read it. Closed source, private, only developers know what's in the code. Independent audits, and the community can, again, verify it, and professionals often do. Closed source is limited. You must put your trust in the company. Security model. Many eyes make bugs shallow, and security is by obscurity in closed source. If the company shuts down with an open source, the code still exists and it can be maintained. Closed source wallets, you may lose access to support and your funds. Here are some examples below of open source and closed source wallets, and this goes for both hardware and software wallets. Again, some of these companies you need to be especially careful with because they are closed source and have had some backdoor leaks in the past. Now, some things to consider is the overall security when it comes to your wallet. Again, open source is typically the way to go here. Convenience and usability. You want to make sure you're choosing a wallet that is convenient and usable enough for you. You don't want to have something that's so technically complex that it's difficult for you to use or set up, potentially leading to loss of your funds. Cost. Some of these wallets can get upwards to $250 or more, and it wouldn't make much sense to spend that much money on a wallet just to protect a $200 worth of Bitcoin or something like that. So there is a bit of a trade-off here, your investment in your wallet and for what you're trying to protect. Best use case: long-term HODLing versus daily spending or trading. So what's the objective here for you and the wallet that you're trying to use? Is it something that you're trying to store away for long-term, which would be cold storage? Or are you looking for daily spending and trading, which would be a hot wallet or an exchange platform? Security best practices and risks. Now, you want to back up your seed phrases securely, never digitally. You don't want to be taking screenshots of these, storing them on your phone or on your computer. This could lead to being compromised. And obviously, you want to be smart here and never have this be somewhere where that could be hacked or compromised. You want to use strong passwords and two-factor authentication where it's applicable. Don't want to be using simple passwords or things that you could easily be guessed or brute force attacked. Avoid phishing and malware. Always verify where the software and hardware is coming from being downloaded. You want to check URLs here, make sure it's the exact website that you're intending to download from. And there are ways to verify the download as well. And this is usually posted on these better websites that will show you exactly how to do this. You also want to be sure that you're updating your firmware and hardware regularly so that you're not prone to security risks as technology evolves. Another very important thing is inheritance and recovery planning. If you make something so technical that your family cannot access it in the event of you passing, that they are unable to access your funds, and that cannot be handed down through inheritance. Conclusions and key takeaways. It depends on your personal needs. It all depends on what you're trying to do. Are you trying to make daily transactions, have long-term storage, or are you trying to trade? So don't make a setup that's too technical for your abilities. You could risk losing your Bitcoin. Find a setup that works well for you and that you are comfortable with. There are a lot of options, and it's okay to experiment with these and figure out what works best for you. So some recommendations that I have are for the like a Maxi Bitcoin or HODLer setup. For cold storage hardware wallets, we recommend Cold Card. Cold Card is available in both the MK4 and the Q. The only difference here is that the Q has the QR code capabilities. However, both of these are air-gapped. MK4 works with the SD card, and the Q is QR code based. Some software wallets that we trust are Sparrow Wallet and Blue Wallet. Sparrow Wallet's a little bit more technical, but once you play around with it, and there are several tutorials on this as well, you will feel like this is the go-to option. Now, if you're a little bit less tech savvy, Blue Wallet also offers some great options. These are all open source, both Cold Card, Sparrow, and Blue Wallet, and you can't go wrong here. So I hope this gives you a basic understanding of the different types of Bitcoin wallets that are available out there. Hopefully you can get in there and figure out what works best for you now that you have a basic understanding of how these different wallets function.